Good to see everybody. Excited about this upcoming season. I think as a group we're itching to get going. Obviously we've lost some players that are really important to our team, but I think we've made some great additions, and obviously the core of the team is really strong and a strong belief in itself and the rest of the team to continue to push forward and you know, continue to find a way to where we want to get to. So you know, we're obviously been right there, and a lot of work ahead this year to get back for another opportunity. Personally, it's been a good summer. Enjoyed the downtime, time to work on my game, and get myself ready to go to be at a high level, consistent level, continuing to round my game out, and as my role continues to adapt and change over my time here. Important for me to continue to find ways to improving it better. So anyways, just wanted to say a few words, so I'll open it up to questions now.
John, you made the point over the summer that you had the full summer to work out, as opposed to last summer when you were still recovering from the concussion after the Montreal series. Can you explain a little bit of how that makes you feel different heading into this camp?
Well, I wouldn't say there wasn't too much difference from the training perspective, other than, you know, I didn't have to really hit the check marks of getting cleared to return to play, and kind of going through that process, and some of the neuropsych testing you have to do, and just making sure I was continuing to feel good, which I did. I didn't have any setbacks throughout last summer, but there was obviously none of that going into this off season, and being relatively healthy after the season, and you heal up some of the bumps and bruises you get over the year. It was just kind of all focused on the game and how I can get better and improve. Not just how am I feeling, am I recovering well, how am I responding to the first few steps of the off season with my head and coming out of you know, a serious injury. So I would say that's what the differences were. I felt I had a really good off season last year, so but every year you just get a little bit more aware of yourself. You learn a little bit more, continue to adapt and try to get better. And especially, you know, as you get older, I found the things you're trying to work on, you're trying to change. It's much smaller differences. When you're younger, you're making really big leaps, really big changes as you're still growing and still maturing. You're still learning so much. Physically, you're still developing. So it's continuing just to really try to, for me to figure those things out. Obviously, we have a tremendous staff here with our player development team. It was extremely helpful with me and the people I work with outside the organization to find those little areas that I can continue to work at on and off the ice to stay at a high level, and, you know, put that work in and that commitment, and you know, you hope that pays off. Other, you know, sometimes things, you see immediate impacts, but sometimes it just takes time for certain things to maybe evolve and show up where you want it to be.
Hey, John. What's the mindset of the group when you're not only getting to know two new goalies, but it's a couple of guys who are looking to rebound and get their careers back on track?
Yeah, I think we're excited about both of them. I think, you know, really our depth of goaltending, I think, you know, we've seen what Schaller and Waller as well have provided for us this past season. And then obviously two guys that have strong pedigrees, wanting to come in and bounce back, and really looking forward to the opportunity because of the type of team we have and what we're striving for, and how they can help us get over the top. So on us as a team and as a group to get them feeling comfortable and playing well in front of them, to settle in and build their game and build their confidence and you know, use their skill set to a maximum, so they can be playing at a high level, and we can be feeding off that, and vice versa.
Just, do you have an initial impression of either coming off summer workouts and that sort of thing?
Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Do you have an initial impression of either one of them or both coming off the summer workouts?
I think they're just very motivated. Like you said, I think just you see them at the facility every day, you know, going about their business and putting the work in that they need to, how diligent they're being. And I think just in talking to them, just excited for this opportunity and being a Maple Leaf and what we have going on here.
Hey, John, why would Nick Robertson be a good fit beside you and William?
Well, I think Nick's strengths with his energy and obviously incredible shot, ability to finish plays off and pressure the puck, use his speed. I think any player would enjoy playing with someone with those type of assets. So, as he continues to mature and understand his game and how he continues to apply it at the NHL level, and find ways to be consistent and be impactful with and without the puck, I think he's obviously going to be a really good player for us. He continues to grow and mature. As I talk to him, you get a better sense he's getting more and more comfortable in his own skin and his own boots and how he feels out there on the ice and in the locker room, playing in the NHL. So I know he's excited and motivated for another season and working to crack the lineup. And obviously, if it was with us, we had some good success last year at times and got to play with them. And I know that being a high school player, those are fun guys to play with.
John, from the outside perspective, there's some type of Groundhog Day kind of feeling to this training camp and this team having to prove it all over again and trying to win it all. Do you share this feeling? Is that any tiring at all at this point?
No, this is what makes it great is the process and the journey to try to get to the ultimate prize. There's only one team that can win it every year. Would we love to win it every year? Absolutely. We can't change what's happened. I think we just continue to mature and grow. I think there's constant belief in the group. We know we've been very close, so it's up to us to go out there and just try to get better each and every day and go out there and earn that opportunity once again to hopefully have another chance to break through.
John, I'm curious if you watched any of the documentaries or movies about the 1972 Summit Series and whether you're kind of surprised about how little training Team Canada did over the summer as opposed to what you guys did.
Yeah, it's a little different, I think. 50 years ago now, right? So, obviously it changed hockey forever, especially international hockey, and incredible. For someone that obviously was born much, quite a few years after, just how much you learn and you hear about it, the clips you see, the highlights, the documentaries, the guys, the interviews, and just what it was about, what it meant, and how impactful it still is today. It just goes to show you how phenomenal the hockey was and what a defining moment in hockey history.
As a player, does it kind of come into your mind at all, when your GM is kind of on the last year of his deal, and also given that he's the GM that signed you here, is there any sort of added motivation for you to kind of see it through for him, maybe?
I think it's probably similar to any player's contract. I think, you just go out there and take care of what you can control. We obviously have great belief in Kyle. I think he's done a tremendous job in what we have going here. So, we go out there and take care of business. We get better every day. We keep pushing the envelope and keep believing in ourselves. I think all that will take care of itself.
Given that he came, midway through the season last year, it might have been tough to sort of establish a leadership role, or at least a definitive one. How great is it to open camp with a guy like Mark Giordano in your leadership core as the captain? Yeah,
it's huge. I think it's no secret what Spez has meant to this group over his time here, and obviously moving on into a different role and out of the locker room and in that type of environment. I always say, I need as much support as everyone else as a captain. You need people to lean on. I don't always have all the answers, so it's important to have a strong group in the locker room. Guys that have been around, guys that bring, that are young and different perspective. So we have a great balance of that, and no doubt Gio, I think, not only his play on the ice, but what he's going to bring off the ice is certainly going to help me tremendously, and I think the rest of our guys and the rest of our group.
John, just going back to Kyle briefly, he's lots of talk about the final year of his deal. As mentioned, he's hung his hat on your core, the core group. what does that mean to you guys that, again, in the final year of his deal, he's once again running it back with this group and resisted any urge there might have been to change?
Yeah, I think it just obviously gives us a tremendous amount of confidence. I think in each other, you know, a great amount of appreciation, I think, from him and belief from him. And I think maybe more than that, I think we've been extremely motivated to win and get to where we want to get to. And obviously we've had hurdles, and, you know, we're continuing to try to find our way. So just continuing to stick together, continuously to believe in one another, and just try to improve each and every day. You know, the off season was one stepping stone for this upcoming year. Now we look forward to training camp and what tomorrow presents, and throughout the next couple of weeks before the regular season starts, and that next step. So, yeah, I think, you know, obviously the type of team we have, I think the consistency that we've played with over, you know, a long stretch of time since I've been here, has been fairly consistent. Obviously, we need to get over the hurdle of moving further in the playoffs, but you know, first steps first is having a strong training camp and going from there, and then working to qualify for that opportunity. So, and the guys that have been here have obviously played extremely well, have been very consistent, and are very motivated to find our way.
Just want to quickly shift gears. As a captain of an Original Six team, grew up cheering for this team. Where do you fall on jersey ads, patches?
I think it was inevitable, so I think you just kind of knew something like that was coming. I think the way it's presented is subtle. I don't think takes away from the jersey or from the logo specifically, but certainly I think is you know, where the game is going and the sport's going, and obviously is positive in many ways. Obviously, we saw the helmet ads come in, which I think probably makes it a little bit easier to see and have a better feel for, and not, you know, make it feel as shocking as maybe when you first see an ad on a jersey that's you know, something that hasn't happened in the game before or in our league before. So yeah, something new and different. I think it's a great partnership for us with the Dairy Farmers of Ontario. So you know, nice little connection there as well, you know, for our team and our organization. And so, yeah, I don't think it's anything that's negative. I think it's obviously very positive.
Morgan, Kyle basically started this thing off by saying the goal for the regular season is to win the division, and the ultimate goal is, of course, to win the Stanley Cup. What gives you the confidence that you've got the right group of guys around you that you can do that this year?
Well, I think, you know, what gives us confidence is that I think we've proven over the last couple of years that we can go on, you know, good runs, play really good hockey over a period of time, and compete with the best teams in the league. I think we've done that during the regular season for long stretches of time. We haven't been able to do it in the playoffs for long stretches of time. So it's on us to get to that point where, you know, when we're in a big game in the playoffs, we're able to close it out. But I think if you look back at the past, we've proven, I believe, that we are a very good team. And I think that we deserve to have confidence. And we have to work every day to get better, to get more mentally tough, to be prepared to win big games in the playoffs. And, you know, that happens on day one of training camp, and then you move forward from there. I think that, I mean, I'm extremely confident in our group. I know how motivated guys are. I know how much it hurts to lose and how hard you work to avoid having that feeling again. And I trust and believe that all our guys have worked extremely hard during the off season to be prepared for an important season.
Just as a follow-up, last year you guys came in to training camp and really quite expressed heartfelt anger and frustration at the way you went out against Montreal.
Mm-hmm.
What's the mood this year among you guys coming into camp?
Well, unfortunately, it's kind of a feeling we've had before, where we had good moments last season, but ultimately ended, you know, being disappointed. So I think what you take away from that is probably different for everybody. After last season, you know, you take some time, you reflect, you think about what you could have done differently, and then over time you start thinking about what you did well. and you do what you can to prepare. So is it a different feeling? I think so, just based on the way that the Montreal playoff went and how it ended. But that being said, the overwhelming emotion of being disappointed is the same. And like I said, we're a motivated group who I believe worked very hard this offseason to prepare for training camp. And, like I said, tomorrow is the first day of a new season, and we're going to work every day to improve and get better and, put ourselves in a position to have success.
Just one more than different topic, but I wonder if you took in any of the documentaries regarding the 72 Summit Series and your thoughts on how little that group actually worked out over the summer versus what you guys do.
Well, I think it's just changing times. I think that the game was a little bit different. I think when you watch the clips of that series, it's obviously a very different game, but, more intense than ever. You could argue for, that being the most intense hockey played. But I think that it's obviously a cool moment in our game's history, being Canadian, and I'm looking forward to getting a chance to kind of, honor those guys this season.
No, Sandino, Liljegren to start. You've gained Ben and Mete. Can you just talk about that dynamic, how it may work through camp? Yeah,
I think that's just kind of, almost par for the course. You expect to lose guys over the course of a season to injuries or to illness or, whatever it might be. So it's on the guys that are here and healthy to pick up the slack. And we got plenty of guys that are capable of contributing and playing in different roles and taking on different responsibilities. And so that'll be put to the test early. And that's a great way to do it. Guys are going to get opportunity to play. There are challenges in camp that you got to be ready for. And, I think for us, it's just kind of right off the bat. And like I said, I think that's a good way just to face it, on the first day.
Hey, Morgan, how was your summer?
Great, thank you.
Okay. So you kind of talked about the mental toughness and then also kind of looking at what went wrong and then what went right. How long did you give yourself to kind of clear that mental hurdle to then focus on what's ahead?
Yeah, I think everybody's different. I remember after the Montreal series, it was quite some time. And then this year, you spend quite a bit of time kind of reflecting on it. And then there comes a time where it's not on your mind all day, every day. And then I think once you get back into the rink and, back around your teammates and your friends and your guys where, you kind of have to face it again and start talking about it. And I think that also comes up, around July 1st or I believe it was July 13th this year when, there's players coming in and players going out. You really start to kind of hone in on what your team's going to look like and what you need to do to be prepared. So it kind of comes and goes over the course of a season. Then on a day like today, you're met with a couple questions and then you're thinking about it again. But that's just the natural course of it. And I think unless you win the last game of the season, you're going to have those emotions and you're going to have those questions on what you can do differently and how you respond to what happened the season before. So it's natural.
Morgan, Kyle Dubas was in here talking about how he's going into the last year of his contract, but it's not a distraction for him. He likes the accountability aspect of that. Is that something that resonates with the players, that the GM's kind of putting himself there with you guys?
Yeah, I think so. I think as far as contracts goes, again, it's just a natural thing in sports that everybody has to deal with: coaches, training staff, players, and GMs. So as players, there's not a lot we can do right now to control what happens with his future other than playing extremely hard and winning hockey games. And that's our goal. Whether he's in the last year of his contract or whether he's got 10 years remaining, we're always going to approach it the same from a player standpoint. And he's done a great job to put our team in a position where we feel like we can have success. So that's our main focus, and that's on us.
What do you appreciate about the way he approaches his job?
I think you try to appreciate, qualities that all your coworkers have. And I think Kyle's a good communicator. I think he's got good perspective when he looks at the game. And so, like I said, there's not much we can do right now other than, just worry about tomorrow. having a good start to the season, having a good training camp, staying healthy, and then, we got to go out and win games. And, I mean, there's always a lot more at stake than, just wins and losses. And, if you're a player in your contract here, there's a little bit of added pressure. But for the most part, you just gotta work hard and just win games and just keep your focus there.
Hey, Morgan. The two new goalies you obviously know as an opponent. What goes into getting to learn their tendencies and that sort of thing now through camp as a defenseman?
Yeah, it's interesting. You got to talk to them a little bit more about, more handling the puck and, like those calls when they come out of the net to play the puck. I think we'll have to get on the same page, and, that takes place kind of during camp. Murr's been around here, so we've had a chance to get familiar with one another. And as his teammates, it's important that we make him feel comfortable. And I think that helps in any line of work. When you're able to be yourself and feel comfortable, you're oftentimes able to do your job better. So as his teammates, we want to be there for him during camp. We want to support him and, put him in a position where we're on the same page and he feels good. So I think we're all looking forward to getting training camp started. And, that's kind of the enjoyable part about this is you get to work on new things. You get to, open up new lines of, how you communicate with each other. And that's what we'll do with Murr and also Ilya come training camp.
With Nathan McKinnon signing his extension yesterday, you seem like a guy who looks around the league and is pretty in tune with, what other players are doing. How much does that how much does that impact you as a guy who, in 2 years' time might be hitting a similar stage to him?
I'm not sure. I'm really happy for Nate. I've been lucky enough to play with him, get to know with him, and he's obviously a pretty incredible player. So, I think that contract's much deserved. And, as far as my situation, I'm not really too focused on that. It's still a couple years away, so.
Auston, lots of people, of course, focused on your over here, on your 60-goal season and your Hart Trophy last year. I know you're not so much into personal accolades, but how do you absorb what you did last year, and what do you expect of yourself going into this season?
Yeah, I think I just continue to try to improve and, just kind of take it in stride. Like you said, it means a lot to be named for those awards and stuff. And, I think there's a lot of hard work that is, gets put into those kinds of things. And, but at the same time, like we're trying to accomplish, obviously, something bigger than, individual awards, obviously winning the Stanley Cup. So, for myself, I just try to continue to improve, continue to put my best foot forward, be a leader on this team, and just kind of try to lead by example every day.
Auston, how much do you feel team success or finally having success in the playoffs might be a factor or not in your thought process next summer if the organization hopes to extend you 1 year out? In other words, are these things all tied together, do you think, in your mind?
So I appreciate the question. I'd like to be clear, like, about the contract stuff. I'm going to touch on it today, and I think that's it. I understand why I'm being asked, but at the same time, I'm focused on this season. I'm focused on, obviously, winning and continuing to improve and help push this team over the edge. So, as far as that goes, I'm just focused on this season and what's to come in the future. Obviously, when that time comes, we'll deal with it. But I think I've been pretty clear. I've loved my time here. I really love playing in the city of Toronto. I think, I consider it home now. So I've really enjoyed my time. My teammates have been incredible year after year. It's nice to have the support that this city brings. And obviously, we're all working towards that one ultimate goal. So I appreciate the question, but I'm not going to be entertaining this question all year. I understand why you guys want to talk about it, but at the same time, there's nothing that can be done. I'm under contract for 2 more years. I can't extend for another 10 months. So I'll just kind of leave it at that, but I appreciate the question.
Hey, I have 2 questions. The first one's a little bit lighthearted. I talked to Mitch about tennis, and I asked who was the better tennis player between you, him, and Michael. Who do you think he said was better, and what is your opinion?
I probably think he said myself and then him, and then Big Mike's trailing behind a bit, but yeah, I'm pretty sure that's how it went.
Yeah, absolutely, you nailed it. Just when it came to the off season, how long did it take you to kind of mentally clear what happened last season to then focus on what's next? Did it take a moment? Because I know I'm sure it wasn't the outcome you're hoping for.
Yeah, I mean, I think it always takes, you know, a little while to kind of digest the season. I mean, it's a long season, and obviously, you know, ending with another, you know, very frustrating loss and disappointing. So I think it takes a little bit of time, you know, to kind of digest and kind of settle down. I think, you know, it's important for me. Like, I like to go home and, you know, spend time with family and friends and just kind of get my mind off of hockey for a little bit. After that, but I mean, it's always, you know, even speaking about it now, like you still have a bit of a sour taste in your mouth, but at the same time, you know, kind of look at it, you know, and this is a new opportunity for us, a clean slate, a new season, and that's kind of your main focus. So after, you know, a couple weeks or so, you kind of turn the page and just kind of move on because you can't really change the past. So.
Hi, Auston. Playoff narrative with this team is obviously something that gets talked about a lot. How does the leadership group not let that be an elephant in the room, and has it met already to discuss that with the players prior to camp?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a bit of a given. You know, it's, yeah, like you said, it's going to be a narrative. It's going to be something that's talked about. You know, at the same time, I think, you know, we can only control what we can control, and that's, you know, going out there and just playing. Like, we still, you know, I think it's still important for us to have a good regular season and make sure that we're building the right habits and playing, you know, the right way within our structure, et cetera. So, you know, I understand why there's, you know, all that kind of talk and stuff, and rightfully so. But at the same time, I mean, we can't, you know, fast forward to the future. Like, we still got to play 82 games and 7-8 preseason games, and just kind of take it from there and go. Kind of take it in stride. So, you know, I think the main focus is right now is just on training camp, and it's going to be very competitive, and, you know, I think that's the way we want it, and just continue to raise our level and that standard of play, and just continue to improve over the season.
And one last thing, yourself and Mitch what's your next act, so to speak, and have you know, met? I know that you were down at your place in the summer. What do you look forward to with him and of course Michael as well, to take it forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody's just looking to take a step in the right direction, a step forward individually as a team. You know, I think it's tough to sit here and talk about that, and because I know, like, everybody's on their mind is obviously playoffs, and that's completely understandable. But you know, I think everybody has the same goal in mind, and everybody wants to continue to you know, take individual steps forward in their game, and personally for myself, and I know Mitch and Bunce as well. You know, we want to take a step forward and continue to improve and be leaders on this team, and consistently go out there and play hard every night.
Auston, what stands out to you the most about how Kyle Dubas goes about his job?
Well, I think he's, you know, he's confident in himself. He's confident in us as players and as a team, and I think, you know, that's what you want from your general manager, from, you know, from him, is just that belief, and you know, clearly he believes in our group, in our core group, and the players that we have around us, and the coaching staff and everything. And so I think it's nice to, you know, to have that, so to speak, so you can just go out there and just play and know that you have his full support and everything like that.
You mentioned Toronto feels like home now. Your hometown's a lot different than Toronto. What is it about the market and being here that has made it kind of feel like that new home for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think just the city, the way the city's kind of embraced, you know, embraces the players. It's embraced myself, my family. You know, I've just kind of grown comfortable in my own skin here, and you know, it's not easy, you know, to do that at times, but you know, I just think it's such a special place to play, and you know, just the guys that I've been able to play with, that I'm still playing with, you know, today, from my first year in the league till now. So I think you just build those relationships with people in the organization and your teammates, and And like I said, it's just a really special place to play. Obviously, a lot of history here, and it's a big honor to go out every night and wear the maple leaf on my chest. So it's something I definitely don't take for granted, and I really appreciate. But like I said, it definitely it's felt like home for a while, and it's just an awesome place to play, and I've really enjoyed my time.
What do you, actually, Auston said he'd be happy with a new goal song. Where do you stand on the new goal song?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're open to anything. I think a lot of people love that goal song of ours. I think a lot of people would probably love a new one as well. But I think, if we want to make something a little more upbeat or a little more vibey in that arena, get everyone going, I think we'd be open to it. But at the same time, that song gets a lot of people going as well. So it's hard to go either or on that.
Earlier today, Kyle came out and said the goal for the regular season is to win the division, and ultimately the goal for the playoffs is to win the cup. What gives you the confidence you got the right group of guys around you?
Yeah, well, first, I think that obviously should be a goal of ours, but I think at the same time, we can't look too far ahead. We're just starting training camp now. We got a lot of days ahead of us, a lot of hard days ahead of us until that day, but, the goal is to set ourselves best for when the playoffs come and be in the best position to play, kind of pick the team we want to play against. So that definitely would be the goal, but got to be focused on the here and now and, take it day by day, training camp here. But just super excited to be back. We got a great looking team. The boys are ready to get going.
Final one for me. I don't know if you've been watching any of the Summit Series, look back 50 years ago, Canada, Russia. If you have, did you notice how little working out they did prior to that versus what you guys have to go through these days?
I actually haven't watched any of that, but it is funny still once in a while. I mean, obviously at that golf tournament, there's a lot of alumni guys there that, are saying a lot of different things about their training camp than ours, but regardless of it, that's the new day of age. You got to work out all year round. There's really not many days off. It's all about just making sure you're ready to go for the start of this day and try and help this team kind of accomplish whatever it needs to.
Mitch, let's talk about Kyle's contract. He's shown a lot of faith in this group, this core. What does it mean to you guys that heading into his final year of contract, he's bringing it all back? He's resisted any temptation that might have been to change things up and is going back with largely the same group.
Yeah, well, I think he's got a lot of confidence in us as we do in him. So for us as a group, it's just making sure we're going out there trying to win hockey games. He's got a lot of trust in us. That's why he kept us together. So for us, it's just making sure, especially at the start of camp, we're getting things moving quickly. We're getting our chemistry back, and we're getting ready to go, and let everything else work itself out.
Mitch, what do you appreciate about the way Kyle kind of goes about his job?
Obviously, what he has as a job is very stressful. It's a lot of work. There's a lot of things constantly going on, especially living here full year round. So just how he handles that pressure, it's been very impressive, I think, to a lot of us. And just his mindset and his attitude every single day he comes in here, how happy he is, how, to him, I think, just how grateful all of us are to be a part of this organization. It's special, and he's definitely the one that kind of really shows that as well.
Mitch, to your left. There's a kind of Groundhog Day feeling to this training camp, and you and your team having to prove it all over again in the lead up to the playoffs. How do you keep yourself motivated and keep things interesting throughout the whole season?
Well, I'm sure you're going to be hearing a lot today, but for me especially, it's just you got to take it day by day. Got to start here. It's the first day of camp. It's really exciting. For us, it's just making sure we're trying to get better every day, trying to get our chemistry back under us quickly, trying to get our team up and going as quick as possible at the start of the season. I think that's something that we missed last year, and for us, it's just making sure we come quick out of the gates this year and be ready to go.
Mitch, Rasmus is going through his contract situation right now. What do you recall about what it felt like this day when you were going through your situation to not be there for the start of training camp?
Yeah, you're kind of sitting there and you want to be there badly and you want to try and figure something out. And I think these are the days where usually it's a lot of phone calls back and forth, a lot of trying to figuring it out. So obviously he's a special part of this team. He's a special player. And but again, that's for him and his agent and the team to all do all that stuff. And for us, it's just when the time comes and whatever happens, be there supportive of him and take him back whenever he's back.
Hey, Jake.
It was a bit of a challenging year for you maybe last year with what you went through injury-wise.
Yeah.
I'm wondering how you reflected on that going into your off-season training and what your focus is for the upcoming season.
Yeah, a few injuries, but we looked after those during the season, and during the off season just kind of did our similar stuff where we get the body ready to go for another season. I'm feeling good. I haven't thought anything about the concussions that I had in the past, and I'm feeling good and ready to go for this year.
How much comfort does it give you to kind of have this exact same core, more or less, from a defensive standpoint from last year going into this year?
Yeah, it's, when there's familiar faces and you went through the struggle together, it should motivate you as a group to come out on the other end of it as well. So I think it's an encouraging time.
Thank
you. Jake, 2 new goalies, how does that change the dynamic for defensemen?
There's a few communicational things when it comes to playing the puck and stuff like that. That's like the detailed side of it. And some other stuff too, where maybe on shot blocking as well, where what they like to see or what not to see. So there's a few things we need to go over. But having 2 new guys in is exciting. I know they're excited, and we're excited to have them too.
Jake, GM Kyle Dubas today talked about being comfortable with the fact that he's on the last year of his deal, that he'll be judged on this team, getting over the hump come playoff time finally. There's a feel of put up or shut up for this organization here. How do you embrace that as a leader on this team when you guys talk in the room that this is time finally?
Yeah, it is time. We know we have a good team, we have a good opportunity, and for me personally, it's like you don't get that all the time. I find so you want to take advantage of it, and with Kyle keeping on, most of the core together I think it shows his confidence in us, and we have to respond to that.
Jake, in Toronto, obviously pressure is normal, but pressure seems to be mounting on this team to do something. And with Cal's situation, the possibility of changes coming if nothing happens in the playoffs this year, do you feel like as a group that this might be your last chance to do something? And how do you put that aside?
It was, yeah, I just touched on that a little bit, where it's, it's time to push hard and to get over the hump. You don't have good teams and good opportunities all the time, so we want to take advantage of that for sure.
Hey, Jake, familiar theme, but a different approach. Your team's won so many games during your years here in Toronto. I'm wondering how you think you guys can approach a regular season, what you can take out of it to be more ready to make it time.
Yeah, every season's new and different, and there's different challenges and experiences that we go through, and I think it's important to just take it day by day. To be honest with you, it's a long season, it's a long haul, and you add years on years on years. It's a lot of hockey and a lot of challenges. So enjoy each day, want to get better every day, and try to build this thing in the right way. When it comes playoff time, we're ready to go again.
Jake, I know after the Montreal series there was a lot of anger, guys described it as, coming off that. What was it like processing the Tampa series, reflecting on that, what you maybe took from it?
Yeah, I think it was a different feeling. Still disappointed and, maybe a little frustrated and sad and, all those things. But we're right there with back-to-back Stanley Cup champs. One shot, one call, one whatever, we're kind of right with them. I felt like, anyways. And,
you know, it was different. We didn't, I felt like we didn't shy away from the game 7 or scared of it. We just went at it and attacked it. And, you know, we still fell short, and it's disappointing and frustrating, but it was a different feeling than previous years, I believe.
Mark, first off, with 2 new goalies, what's the process for a defenseman to get to learn their tendencies?
Yeah, I think every goalie has different tendencies, but I think mainly for D-men, it's first and foremost letting them see the puck. Both goalies, obviously, when goalies can see the puck, it's beneficial for them. But the one thing that sticks out for me with playing with different goalies is how they play the puck outside of the net. So different calls and little things like that, handling the puck and where they want you to go, finding their strengths in that and what they're more comfortable with, and then go from there. I think playing confident in front of both goalies goes a long way for them, obviously, as well. But that's the one thing that sticks out is puck handling and little touches around the net.
And I don't know if you're watched any of the documentaries regarding the 1972 Summit Series, Canada-Russia. Just what your thoughts on the quality of hockey back then and what players actually didn't do any workouts in the summer. Your thoughts on what you go through versus what they went through.
Yeah, I haven't watched too much of it, but I'd imagine the training was a little bit different, but the quality of hockey was great. I think, the type of players coming, playing in those games, you obviously have a lot of respect for growing up, and they were a little bit before our time, but I know talking to my dad about it, that was one of the highlights of his life watching that series, and it's changed. I mean, the game and the off ice and all that stuff has changed a lot, even since I've been, from the day I started playing till today, so I can only imagine.
This is your first training camp in a while that you've opened with a team and you're not the captain. How different is it, in terms of responsibilities for you? Is it sort of an adjustment, and how much of a benefit has it been to start in training camp with this team after coming over, mid-season?
Yeah, for me, it feels there's a lot of the same excitement and all that goes into training camp. I know we have a great leadership group. I really enjoy getting to know the guys over the last, whatever it was last year, 30 games, and obviously over the summer. But it's a huge benefit for me to come into camp now and really, practice every day, day in and day out. I think you get a lot more reps at this time of the year than you do at playoff time as far as practice goes, and it's a really important camp for, number one, the team, but myself as well, to solidify where I play and what kind of role I play in this lineup, night in and night out.
Mark, excuse me, you came over last year, kind of came into a playoff race, a playoff performance with this team, but you grew up in this city. What have you learned about, I'm sure you knew there was pressure playing this market, and what have you learned about it? How do this group have to embrace that pressure, heading into this season?
Oh, there's just a lot of passion in our city, whether it be fans, family, friends, media. I mean, people care. It's a really, really cool thing to be a part of. And like you said, we have to embrace that. This is a unique opportunity to play in Toronto and play in this market that cares so much about how we do, how our team performs, and we should look at that as a positive for sure.
Just going back to goalies, what have you seen from them, whether it's in summer skates or when you were in the North Division against Murray? What have you seen from those two guys that gives you guys confidence that they can carry the water?
I think both goalies are obviously great goalies. Playing against them for a number of years, Murr has 2 cups under his belt, and obviously he was a big reason why those teams had success and won Stanley Cups. So look to him for a lot of advice, and he's experienced long runs in the playoffs, and I think that's obviously a huge benefit to our team to have a guy like that around our locker room and with us. And Samsonov, getting to know him over the summer, he's putting in the hard work, and again, coming from a really successful team. So really, really two positive additions in my opinion, and really looking forward to playing in front of them.
Hey, Mark, I'm wondering, I don't know what the coaching staff's intentions are, but over the course of your career, have you played the right side very much? There's a lot of left shot defensemen on this roster. I'm just wondering, do you think that's something you could fill in if the situation dictates it?
Yeah, I've thought about that a little bit, just looking at our roster. I think it's something, I've played, a lot of left in my career, but obviously we have to be, as players, open to playing either side, the way our team looks with a left-handed shot, right-handed shots, and all that sort of stuff. So I think there's big benefits in the offensive zone. I think for sure playing on your offside, having the puck, when you drag the puck to the middle, you're in a better shooting position, I think. And I think it's just little adjustments defensively where I don't think should be too hard for guys to adjust. I've seen a lot of guys do it. I think I played with Broads for a long time, and he's one of the best, I think, at playing his offside. So sort of watch him and ask him questions, but I think either righties or lefties should be able to handle the other side and get used to it.
Hi, Mark. Just more generally, how would you say that you are feeling heading into this camp, or how would you kind of evaluate where your fitness or your game is at when you guys get into more formal skates?
Feel good. I think every year, every player is going to say the same thing to you and say that they feel great throughout summer training. But for me, I had a really good summer. I think is a lot different for me this year. I didn't have to travel over the summer. I'm from Toronto, so being here, I think that helps. Getting my family settled into school, the kids into school, and situated and all that stuff, really makes it more convenient. But training and training with the guys who are in town and our trainers, I think really is going to be beneficial and went a long way for me. So feel nice and confident and excited to get this year going.
I think you'll be turning 39 in the next month or so. Would you say that you're still, what did you say in Calgary, still feeling young and fresh?
Absolutely.
Thanks, Mark.
Willie, Rasmus is obviously not here. You went through something similar. How much have you talked to him, and how much can you relate with what he's going through right now?
Yeah, it's obviously a hard and weird position to be in. Like, everybody's getting going, and all you want to do is be here, and I know he feels the same way. He just wants to be here and get it going and get back to be with the boys. So hopefully it gets sorted out soon. Have you offered him any advice? Have you been in touch with him? Yeah, we skated all summer. I said, you just do what you got to do, and he just got to take pride in what he's doing and figure it out and be happy with his situation. So everybody's in a different boat, and just got to do what you want to do.
And as for this team, earlier Kyle said that, the goal is to, for regular season, win the division, postseason, win the Stanley Cup. What gives you the faith in this group that you guys can get that done?
Look, we've had a really good team, I think, throughout multiple seasons during the regular season, and I'm confident in the group that we have. We just got to get past that first round, but right now our focus is here, day one of camp tomorrow, and we'll take it day by day to get towards our end goal. But in the end, we want to be deep in the playoffs. So, but it starts tomorrow.
Well, how can you and John grow together as line mates and improve on, just get better? And is it a factor entering camp maybe not knowing who your other winger is?
I think we've built a lot of stuff over the 2 seasons maybe we played together, and I think coming into this year it'll be a good start for us. And I know there's so many good guys on the team that could play with us, so I'm not worried about that. I know that we'll have good chemistry with whoever is going to be on our line.
William, when you were going through your contract situation, was this day, like the opening of training camp, was this a particularly tough day to deal with from afar? What do you remember about what training camp opening was like for you that year?
To be honest, I don't remember. I couldn't tell you what I was doing. But yeah, maybe he gets the skating test out of the way and then he decides to come, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't remember what I was doing, but obviously it was hard seeing everything get going, and obviously you want to have a deal done before training camp starts, or at some point into training camp would be nice, but yeah, I couldn't tell you what I was doing on that day.
Obviously it's a deep team, but how would you describe Rasmus's importance to this group?
Yeah, I mean, he's versatile, obviously, with the puck and power play, and gets a lot of minutes that way, and heavy, or like good in the offensive zone. So he can contribute a lot to the team, and hopefully he can be here to help us.
We talk a lot to players about their contract situation. Kyle Dubas opened the day by talking about him going into a contract year and how he doesn't mind that. It's not a distraction. He likes the accountability. He'll be judged based on how this team does. I'm just wondering if that's something that resonates with you, and do you think the group as a whole?
Yeah, look, he's been here, and he's year through year, he's put the belief in us and kept the team together, and it shows a lot to us players that he's got the belief, and he's basically put everything down on us to succeed.
Matt, how do you feel coming into camp? How have you sort of acclimatized yourself to Toronto, your teammates, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, feeling great. Thanks for asking. I've been here for quite some time now, so I've had some time to settle in here, get the family settled, meet some of the guys, spend some time with everybody. And it's been amazing thus far. I've been welcomed with open arms, and I'm just looking forward to getting started here.
What's your biggest adjustment coming to a new team? Is it the play with the defensemen? Is it learning the defensive structure? What kind of shots you'll face?
I think it's just building relationships is the biggest thing. You know, gaining trust, and yeah, I think once you start building those relationships, the rest of that stuff that you mentioned, I think will come naturally when we get on the ice together. So that's been my focus the last little bit, is just getting to know the guys and starting to build some relationships.
Hey, Matt, after the season you had last year, what do you draw on to get your game back? Do you go back to the Stanley Cup wins and consider some of those things, or something more recent? What do you draw on to get this thing back on track for yourself, do you think?
Well, I think it's just about taking things one day at a time, trying to take care of business on a daily basis and trying to get better each and every day. And when you do that, things compound, and the rest of it will take care of itself.
What are you looking forward to the competition here too with Ilya in camp to be that guy in Montreal on October 12th?
Sorry, what was the first part of that?
Just looking forward to the competition with Ilya to be the starting goalie in Montreal next month.
Yeah, I think, you know, the relationship among goalie partners is a pivotal one, I think. It's one where we need to push each other and compete with each other and have each other's backs as well. It's obviously the only other guy who can really relate to the position that we're in. So that's another relationship that I've been just trying to build as much as possible here before we get going. And I think we're gonna look to just push each other and get better every day.
Matt, you went through a lot on and off the ice the last couple of years. What do you take away from that in terms of how you grew mentally, or what can you lean on from those tough years in Ottawa?
Well, just a lot of lessons, I think. You know, going through adversity is a huge part of growing, like you said, and getting better. So there's a lot to draw on for me, and obviously feel like I have a lot to prove as well. And like I said, just going to take things one day at a time, try to get better and better each and every day. And I think that's where, you know, all my energy and focus is going towards.
Hey, Matt, Coach said earlier he's not necessarily looking for one goalie to emerge as the number one, and that it's going to be about getting you and Ilya up and running. How do you approach working in tandem with a fellow goalie as opposed to a more defined starter-backup relationship?
Well, I think my job is just to be ready at all times, and the rest of it is up to the coaching staff. They decide who plays when. That's out of my purview. So My job stays the same, and that's just to be ready at all times, ready to play if my name is called.
Matt, what does it do for you to have a coach and a GM that you know so well from your time in the Sioux, and at this point in your career with the hiccups that you've had in Ottawa and at the end there with Pittsburgh, how does it help your confidence that they trust in you despite that?
Yeah, like I said before, I think building trust amongst the team is extremely important, and those are guys that I have a bit of familiarity with from the past. So we're already starting off on a good foot there.
Matt, it was a goalie carousel in the NHL the last 2 summers. This summer you were part of it. What's it as a hockey fan? Do you sort of wonder where it's going to end up? It just seems like every year there's 10 or 12 guys that have been switching teams.
Yeah, that's the nature of the business, I think. Try not to pay attention to it. Anything that's outside of my control, I try not to worry about. So that stuff has a way of taking care of itself.
This is a team that's had high expectations for several years now. It's a team that has underachieved in the postseason for several years now. Even though you haven't been here for those playoff runs, do you feel some of that pressure coming in, knowing how high the expectations continue to be here?
Again, I think the important thing when you're looking to be successful is to take things one day at a time. And I think that's the main message here is we're going to take things one day at a time, work to get better each and every day. And like I said, those days compound. And that's where our energy and focus is at right now.
But is it a different feeling for you coming into this camp with the team being where they are and the expectations so high?
Again, the important thing for me is just to take care of my business, really, and like I said, build relationships, keep building daily, try to get better each and every day, individually and as a team, and again, that's where my focus is at.
Aside from just the obvious progression of time, what have you seen differently from Kyle since you were with him in the Sioux?
What have I seen differently from Kyle?
Like how do you see it, that he's grown, or just what do you see differently from him?
I don't know. That's a tough question to answer. I mean, that was a long time ago when Kyle and I first worked together. So, from what I've seen is basically just watching from afar, like everybody else. And Kyle's obviously a brilliant guy, extremely well spoken, very personable, just a really really great guy to work with. So, like I referred to earlier, we're starting off on a good base there in terms of having that trust. So I think that's huge, and we're going to keep looking to build on that.